Said, what is money? And you're going to find a whole lot of people online who can give you money theory and all of the technical data and research about what is money and the history of it. And I would refer you to the internet for that. I'm going to go much more high level. Like I said, this talk is about how do you prepare yourself to talk to a friend about crypto. But you have to keep in mind, we have to keep in mind that money is all of these things. Money is a taboo subject suppressed from polite company. You don't ask people how much money they make. You don't ask them how much they paid for their car. You don't talk to them about how much, anything. How much were your shoes? Whatever. How much are your taxes? We just don't talk about it. I believe this is in some ways pre-conscious. So these emotional relationships we have to our understanding of money oftentimes overrides our ability to have a rational discussion or analyze our thoughts. Money is at the center of what I see all around us is a rampant consumer culture. And I also see that money is a part of a control structure that organizes our economy and our community. It seems to me, as the more I looked at it, money is really an abstraction. Are there physical, tangible things that you can hold? Checks, credit cards, currency, coins? Yeah, but the concept of money is a real abstraction. And it's difficult to explain. When we start to talk to people about money, they're going to focus on bank vaults and paper bills and credit cards, and not really this abstract theory that money represents. It's my opinion, and again, everything that I expressed in this is opinion. I think crypto has the possibility of being all the things that the current expression of money can't be. So now we get to come into some definitions. What is money? Well, the definition that I was able to prize out of all of these different resources was, and I'll read it, money is a non-consumable, non-perishable medium of exchange. It's a rational device spontaneously created by marginal actors that emerges out of a subjective value for consumables and perishables. I will let everybody marinate on that. It was a hell of a distillation of a lot of stuff. The part to me that was really interesting was this part. Marginal actors. If you own 10,000 cattle, or you have a bakery, or you have stacks of gold, you are not a marginal actor. Marginal actors need some way to get a piece of somebody's bigger pie. If I don't have a thing that you deem as valuable, and I want a cow, or part of a cow, I've got to somehow have a thing that will represent value to you because I'm a marginal actor. I'm not a commodity broker. I don't hold massive amounts of intrinsic value. So money is held to exchange for something of subjective value. Everything I was reading and seeing was saying that you can't consume money. It's only to be used in an exchange for something else. Money itself may have a subjective value, but you can't do anything other than acquire other things with money. You can't plant it, you can't reap it, you can't build with it. I mean, I guess you could burn it to get warm, but again, its only purpose is to exchange something of value. It's currency, it's notes, it's coins, it's tokens. That's what cash money is. It's checks, credit cards, or other promissory notes. And then also, as has been folded into this, what is money? We're now living with online payments and mobile payments, which are neither of these things. Obviously, this list can accordion out to 1,000 things. Now, I did go in and I did find some types of money. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. It is just a list of some types of money. So types of money include a commodity, And typically those are perishable or consumable. They have an intrinsic value, cotton and wool and silk and other things, but obviously raw goods that can be turned into finished materials can be commodity money. They can also be money once they're finished. Receipt money, which is a voucher. Think of a precursor of a check, where people store their commodities in a communal place and they have access to that, or they have access to a voucher for similar value upon demand. Commodity money also happens to be coinage. If you have coins made out of gold, that's considered commodity money. Fiat currency or fiat money is paper money, decreed legal tender, and all are subject to accept. This is, the government says it's money, or the crown, or whoever says it's money, and it doesn't matter whether or not you want to accept it. It has been decreed by fiat that it must be accepted. And then the last one is a variation of the first one, fractional money. Money that's created by accounting standards that allow multiple issuances of credit on the same asset. That would be considered the Federal Reserve. This fractional lending, fractional credit, where the money doesn't really exist. It's chopped up 100 different ways, but it's also backed up by this fiat. It's a non-rational expansion of money supply. So there are governments that still mint money with commodities. The next thing that I came across was monetization. And monetization is minting commodities into money. That's the actual taking precious metals and minting it into coinage. That's called that's the literal term, the literal use of the word monetization. But then I also realized, and this is where we get into the emotional stuff, that we inhabit a world that encourages us to see everything in terms of its monetary value. We know more about price than we know about value. Those are very subjective terms, I get it. What's valuable to you may not be valuable to me. And that's part of the euphemistic nature of the English language. And it's also a way, in my opinion, that people get misdirected as to what money is and what worth is and what value is. I heard this all my life, never confuse value and price. That people get caught up on a number regardless of whether or not it has any value to them. One of the things I thought about was, I remember having a job where I made $50,000 a year and I had $100,000 worth of problems. But at the time that I took the job, my understanding of the money was not commiserate with my understanding of the effort necessary to get that money. Not knowing the difference and having all of these concepts meshed together in a way that is oftentimes unexpressible to us, I think gets us in trouble, but it also keeps us from being able to recognize when we're talking to somebody about this new concept that they're not aware of it. As we are beginning to look at the differences between cryptocurrency and money, we're starting to peek behind the curtain of the control structure that we're living in. This was really the thought, this was really the thing that I really wanted to examine in this, because this is the itch that I can't scratch when I think about cryptocurrency versus fiat currency. So why is money necessary? Again, we're talking about commodities, basic living necessities. Monetary economy, which is what we live in, is where we buy necessities with money. And it's likely that most of our necessities are not available locally. You can't get an avocado here now. Or no, I mean, you can, but they get brought from Peru or Mexico. So as the goods and services that we want and consume start to go further away, obviously money is necessary. Again, I said here it's a voucher of or a token of tangible commodity. Money is portable. We talked about this earlier. The money allows voucher represented by different tangible commodities to trade beyond two participants in a transaction, meaning that if I only have corn and I want apples, but you've got something else, then it becomes the medium that we will all accept and evaluate our commodity based on that. And then the ideal of money is to create a frictionless transaction so that I can show up, give you the money, walk away with the good, and we're done. As fiat money and government issuance thereof has made its rise, more and more of the transaction is going to a third party. So if I want to buy a beer, well, now I have to pay for the transportation and the alcohol tax on the front side. I have to pay the sales tax on the back side. I have to pay for whatever insurance regulations and bathroom regulations where I go to buy my beer. And so we don't see that as we're looking at exchanges, that is slowing down the frictionless nature of the transaction. Every time there is a forced input onto the transaction, it makes it harder to get a beer in a cantina in the Mos Eisley space bar. Trying to resell a car without daddy government getting his cut. Jody talks about this all the time. I have to pay tax again on something that somebody already paid tax on as a purchase? Where else do you have to pay sales tax on something that's already been sold? You know, how is money created in a global system? Again, we can get rid of that first one. One of the things I thought was interesting was when enough participants adopt a fiat currency or coerced to do so, then fiat money happens. And I was reminded of this, how in 1933 the United States government made illegal the possession of bullion, and was that way until 1972, which made people start hoarding gold. They didn't turn in their gold coins, they were told to. So you find all of these pre-1930 gold coins on the market. The United States government wanted them so they could melt them down and put them someplace. But for 40 years, it was illegal for a U.S. citizen to possess gold bullion. So who benefits from creating fiat money? Well, I think we can all see that. I mean, we were just talking about that. Imagine if you get a cut of every exchange. Who's penalized by the creation of fiat money? Anybody who sees spending money as an act of free speech, who could be coerced to not exercise their freedom. What controls arise from the creation of money? This is the one to me that really will pierce the skeptic, is what controls are put on your behavior by a government issuing a fiat currency? How are hidden taxes devaluation of fiat money? But more importantly, those are questions to ask the doubter. Who benefits? Who benefits from the creating of fiat money? The people who create it. And maybe the thing to do when talking to a friend about crypto, as they're asking you to defend cryptocurrency, ask them how it's different from fiat. So even in this discussion, we are seeing everything in terms of the monetary value, right? How can I put my money in this and use it? It's my opinion that the real power of cryptocurrency is not right now in its usability. It's in that people can imagine a system, not this. That's the thing that I took away from Andrea Antonopoulos, besides liking to hear him talk. The idea that people can imagine not being trapped in this paradigm. And to me, that's the kernel of how this goes away. It's going to be a long time and a lot of heartache and other things for this thing to go away. But the nascent technology and also people being able to dream that they don't have to give, on top of the 30% of their income tax that they pay every year, another 30% of every dollar they spend going into these hidden taxes. If there's a way for us to evangelize anything, that's what my thought is maybe this won't happen in your lifetime, but wouldn't it be nice to dream that you're not trapped in this system? What other ways of thinking about interacting with people would you come up with if you didn't have to give, let's say 50% of everything you earn to the man? Yeah. What would you do? What would we all do if we, first of all, what if it only actually takes half of the amount of work that we do right now to actually live the way we live? Yeah. What if we have 20-hour work weeks? You want to talk about a change in your life. If you can conceptualize another way of doing things without someone else restricting half of it, what would you envision? And that's where the power is, in our ability to see the world the way we want to see it instead of the way that we've been forced to see it. So this is obviously not an exhaustive list of the resources, but this will be on the Discord once I clean it up. The payoff of coming here is maybe this wasn't the topic you wanted to hear discussed, but maybe you got something out of it, and maybe you can see that a person like myself who's, not super polished and doesn't have all of this can do this. So, I mean, anybody who that to me would be the real benefit of this is if you want to talk about this and you want to have 15 open ears and eyes to watch you give the talk, then this is maybe a great opportunity to do some discovery. Anyway.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.